Hey guys, Philosopher here. Today is patch day, and so I have for you a complete analysis of the Heroes for Hire team. Not only do I walk through the kits and I show you all the stats and where they rank for the new characters and show you the reworks and everything, but then I actually give you all of what the devs told me. I had a Zoom interview yesterday with a couple devs and asked them tons of questions about the team. I'm going to show you gameplay, and we're going to also talk about, how this is going to transform the war meta. Absolutely huge. This is, if you are into Alliance War in particular, this is a much watched video. So let's get right into it. And I will just say, by the way, the devs believe, this is why I say this is so important. The devs believe that this team is going to transform war. They believe that this team is so powerful. The devs thought that usually it's going to take 3 teams to beat this team on war defense. That you're going to have to throw 3 different meta teams at this one. It's going to totally slow down war, make it so you don't full clear. That is their intent here. I don't know whether they succeeded or not, but I'm going to show you the evidence that I have, what I see. I will describe to you exactly what I've seen and heard watching their footage. I'll show you some of the footage. And then I'm going to give you quotes from the devs and go through all my analysis. So let's do that right now. So let me just show you this. This is a video of Black Order versus the Heroes for Hire team. And by the way, Jessica Jones isn't really on the team. They just threw her in there as a 5th because she has some defender synergy. More on that later. But the bottom line is this team absolutely rolls Black Order on an even matchup based on their footage. Now, I will just tell you, this footage you're seeing is recorded, but I saw it live. I saw them spawn in the characters live, make it a war environment on their own thing that they have. And over, they did it multiple times. Black Order was getting rolled by this team. I don't know whether it's accurate or not, but then we asked them, okay, show us footage of Shadowlands, show us footage of X Factor. They all got rolled. I actually have that footage. I didn't put it all on here because I thought that people don't like the videos too long, but the bottom line is they have designed this team to roll the most powerful war offense teams, which they believe were Black Order, Shadowland, X Factor, or whatever. So, very, very difficult war defense team. And as I said, they really believe that this team is going to be so powerful that it's going to transform war. Now, I'll say a couple things about this. First of all, I do recognize that it is possible that we are going to quickly come up with a counter to this or something, but from looking at the kits, which I will show you shortly, it's not quite as obvious as you might think what the counter is going to be here. It's going to be some sort of a hybrid for now. And I also think that some of the characters like COLLEEN and MISTY are so power crept. Literally, spoiler alert, COLLEEN has higher damage than Black Bolt. So essentially, they've made it so you're going to want to buy this team. You're going to want to use this team. And that's essentially what this is all about. They want us to buy this team. And usually, guys, I do not recommend war defense teams for newer players, mid-game players, free-to-play players, because essentially, what Scopely always does is they introduce some OP war defense team. And then it's great for a while in Alliance War, but then it just gets, they introduce the counter 3 months later, 5 months later, whatever it is. They slowly power creep it down, and then you're like we are now with Marauders, easily beaten, right? I don't think that has long-term value for a player. And this is a team that has a lot tied to Alliance War defense and has a lot tied to being on the team. But the thing is, they've purposely made it so that COLLEEN and MISTY are so dang powerful. You're going to want to have them. You're going to want to get those characters. They've made it so it's very hard to skip this team. So let's go right to it and take a look at the kits. COLLEEN Wing, you've seen this before. Hero City Skill Brawler, Heroes for Hire. Her basic, attacking the primary target for 330% damage plus apply 2 bleed. As I said, she has higher damage than Black Bolt, so those bleeds are going to be ridiculous, especially when she has T4s on her. On war defense, when this character performs a counterattack or assist, apply 3 bleed instead. And if Misty Knight's an ally, the attack can't be dodged. And then special, fearsome strikes. Available turn 1, attack primary target for 400% damage plus 4 bleed. May end up being the most damaging attack in the game. I mean, just an insane attack on a single target attack, because it also is going to get 90% piercing, which ignores armor. That's because there's only 3 heroes for higher allies. And she gains 3 deflect, which also gives her some bonuses that we'll discuss when we get to her passive. And then on war defense, it's going to target the enemy with the highest damage. Very, very good ability. Obviously, with Misty there, the attack can't be dodged. The ultimate, this is to me her value outside of the team. And I will tell you, she's going to end up probably being used in the skill raids right now, skill nodes of the Doom raid for now, because she's such a ridiculous damager and we need damage and skill. So, ultimate's available turn 1, and it's only 3 energy, so it's going to be a short cooldown. Attack all enemies for 300% piercing, which is huge because it ignores armor. If any target's a protector, that target gets 400% piercing plus 3 bleed. I think this character is going to be one in the short run that if you have a lot of T4s, I know we're all T4 short, but the devs said, and I'll get to this later, that they're trying to make these teams not require T4s, but ultimately bleeds have a higher multiplier if you put T4s on them. So this is a character that's going to be helped a lot by T4s. And then apply heal block for 2 turns to all enemies. That is also fantastic, and that if Misty's an ally, can't be dodged. All right, let's go to her passive. So on the end of any Heroes for Hire ally turn, 25% to attack the most injured non-summon enemy for 200% damage plus 90% piercing, ignoring taunt and stealth. On war defense, this always attacks. So she's going to be attacking constantly. She's got higher than Black Bolt damage, and this is going to be ridiculous. Out of turn damage is always a powerful mechanic. Think Black Bolt or something like that. On turn, gain or Thor, for example. On turn, gain deflect plus apply assist auto an ally Misty Knight. So Misty Knight's going to be helping her on these attacks, more damage. On enemy death, if this character is 2 or more Heroes for Hire allies, apply offense down to all enemies. So you're going to be able to steamroll as you start killing enemies. And if the enemy is using, for example, a character like Ultron or Doom, then those bots are going to generate offense down. On spawn on war defense, she gains 2 charge. So this ability here, I'm just going to give you a preview. It's on all of their kits. Every one of them have this kit, so it's not just COLLEEN Wing. And what does that mean? First of all, Silver Surfer is great against any team, but you're not going to win this by fight against them just solely by having Surfer deal with charges. They purposely made it that way. And then when you look at how this thing functions, essentially, whenever she gets below 50% health, she clears all negative effects, heals for 100% of her max health, and then gains offense. Up for 2 turns, 2 deflect, and death proof. This team's going to have a lot of death proofs, and they're essentially making it that the only way to, burn them down is to go from 51% health to 0, and the devs purposely made their health high so you can't do that. That's essentially what they've done here. If charged, always revive on death and gain 10% damage, 10% damage reduction, 175% resistance per charge. So, this is that mechanic that we're talking about. That's going to make this team very, very difficult to defeat. This is what the devs believe, that you're just going to be throwing teams at this. There's going to be more mechanics to come, but this is going to be a ridiculous war defense team. Gain 30% piercing for self and Heroes for Hire allies. That's just additional damage on top of everything, and it's piercing. When she has deflect, 100% chance to counterattack. Think Taskmaster plus 20% block amount. And then look at these stats. Look at the power creep. Unbelievable. Health 11th. Damage 2nd. Higher than Black Bolt. Right between Doom and Black Bolt. Armor is the only, and resistance to the low stats, but look at this. Focus is 7th. Speed is respectable. Just huge, huge, huge. I mean, this is going to be a damager that's so good you'll probably end up, for right now, throwing her on the skill raid, although obviously skill nodes of the Doom raid, although you'll obviously be using Kestrel as well, and you should check out that video. All right, Misty Knight. She's a Hero City Tech Controller. And so then, she's a tech character, different origin. I think that's also great that we're getting some tech characters. We have a lot of that gear saved. All right, her basic, 330% damage and apply defense down. Great. Apply offense up to Colleen. She's just going to constantly be doing extra damage. That's 50% more damage. Can't be blocked. Okay, that's not what's crazy. Look at what's crazy. Turn 1, special, 3 of 3 energy cost, so it's going to get, it's going to come around all the time. Turn 1, stun, plus chains for ability block. Wow, right? And then on war defense, attacks the enemy with the highest damage, clears all death proof on all enemy summons. This is meant to screw over multiple man, because otherwise, that might be a problem. This essentially just destroys a multiple man or a Doctor Doom or Ultron bots, that sort of thing. And by the way, not only all this extra focus, but can't be blocked. And then the ultimate, also available turn 1, also a reasonable cooldown. Clear all positive effects of the primary target, attack for 500% damage, and apply ability block. So she's got a turn 1 ability block, also applies disrupted, and targets the enemy with the highest health. So this is going to target, for example, your Doom. This is meant to sort of make it hard for you to bring Doom in, or your 7 Red Star Ultron someday. There you go. Now, let's look at her passive. On spawn on war defense, fill speed bar by 20% for self and all heroes for hire allies. That means 80% because there's 4 of them right now. And then this ability support and grant 10% ability energy for all heroes for hire allies. So basically what this means is if you have this team there, you cannot sack team them. The devs told me that was their intent when I had that interview yesterday. You can't sack team them because as soon as you zone in, they're going to have all their cooldowns back. They're going to get the speed up, speed bar, everything. So you basically just have to actually beat them. They're doing that to make this team very, very difficult to defeat on war defense. If this character has 3 or more heroes for hire allies, if health is full and not charge gain. This is that same mechanic we discussed earlier with Colleen. I'm not going to rediscuss it here. On enemy death, any enemy death. So this is really makes it hard if you're bringing in multiple man, if you're bringing in the Doom bots, if you're bringing in Ultron bots. Apply speed up to 2 random hero for hire allies. So essentially, whenever enemies are dying, if you have bots or summons, they're going to be feeding offense down on you're putting offense down in your team. They're going to be speeding themselves up. So you really don't want to be relying on those sort of counters. Plus 5% dodge chance, plus 5% for heroes for hire allies. So that's another. It's 20% dodge and then 70% focus in war. Not that she'll need it right now because look at these stats. Super power creep. 11th in health. 4th in damage between Silver Surfer and Dark Phoenix. Yes, you read that right. So in the tech nodes, I think in the tech nodes of the Doom Raid, you're going to use Misty Knight on the boss because she has that turn 1 ability block. Now, she's also got high armor, high focus, high resistance. Like one of the top characters in the game. OP as hell. And the only weakness is her speed. She's 100 speed. Same as Black Bolt and Sinister. It's very old. It's an old speed stat that is very power crept at this point. But on war defense, that won't be an issue because she's getting speed bar on spawn. She's getting speed up all the time. So that won't be an issue for her on war defense. But when you're running her in the Doom Raid, she'll be slow. But on turn 1, she'll have an ability block to ability block the enemy Doom. And right now in tech, your only choices for ability block are like Vision and Ironheart, who you're not going to be running. So very useful character even for raids. I do think that her and Colleen both have standalone value just because they're so ridiculous in terms of stats. The devs did not want you to be able to skip these characters if you're not into war. All right, Luke Cage, slight reworks here. I got to tell you, I asked the dev very bluntly. I'm like, is this just a filler character? And I didn't get an adequate response, in my opinion. He thinks that Luke Cage will be great. But let me show you this, and I'll tell you what I think Luke Cage's role in the team is going to be. So now, on his basic, instead of 30% chance to apply assist now he always does, to a random hero. So, if his allies will be pretty good. If that ally's heroes for hire, they gain offense up. That's good. Special, this was disappointing to me. All it does is just apply regen to heroes for hire. Alt, so this is nice. So not only does it apply defense up to the heroes for hire, but then applies 2 deflect and 2 death proof to self and all heroes for hire allies. Okay, that's good. This team's going to have a lot of death proof. That's going to be a problem. You're going to have to deal with that if you're trying to take this team on. I will just say when I asked the dev, I'm like, what's up with this guy, Luke Cage? He's like, well, you're going to get, and here's the thing on the passive. He'll have 10% max health per defender or heroes for hire ally. So he's going to have 30% extra health, and then on war defense, fill speed bar by 80%. So he's super slow. He's like ridiculously slow, but in war defense, he will taunt right away, and he'll basically be like a wall because of all this stuff. So basically what he's saying is he's going to get the same charge mechanic. He'll be like a wall. He's very helpful to the team for that reason because you're going to essentially, you're not going to have your other characters attacked. My view is, yeah, it's not going to feel good upgrading this character, but you're going to kind of have to do it because this team is so ridiculously OP. All right. Next, we have Iron Fist. They've really buffed this character, I think, because now his special not only clears all negative effects from himself, but then his entire team. Super cleanse. Heals himself, all defender, and all heroes for hire allies now for 30% of the character's max health. So massive, full cleanse, max healing. On the team, we'll have, it's almost like a Emma special, right? Where, just totally cleansing everything. Very, very powerful mechanic. And then on the ultimate now, you don't get that offense down, which is nice. And then it always targets the enemy with the highest damage. Fantastic ability. Now, the passive now has gotten better. So here's what the bottom line is. So now on spawn, heals hero for hire allies, not just defender. On turn, 40% chance to heal heroes for hire allies. That's good. Gain 5% damage for heroes for hire. So he's got all the synergy there. When a Heroes for Hire ally drops below 50% health, apply defense up to 2 turns for that ally. I think this is huge. This is like Night Nurse's ability, where she's applying defense up if on a character if they drop below 50% health, one of her Shadowland allies. I think this is really, really awesome here. I think this is going to make that team much tougher because it's going to be hard to burn down a character on this team, and then he has that same revive type mechanic, a character you're going to absolutely have to run on this team. I will say though that now Jessica Jones is not on this team, and I asked some very tough questions to the devs on that. I don't see Jessica Jones really adding much to this team. She's super slow and power crept at this point. She was originally a strong character, but very power crept. And you already have the cleanse from Iron Fist. They're getting all this ability energy on spawn from COLLEEN, and they're taking a lot of turns. From Misty, and they're taking a lot of turns. So I don't really know whether she's the best fifth, that you could just throw on because she's a defender. And so let me just tell you what the insights are from the devs. This is from that interview. They said they want this team to feel like, quote, a mini boss. Now, they compared it to like Asgardians, where Hela, early on when that team was introduced and she was spawning all the undead Asgardians, that was a big deal. And then they said, also Red Skull in the beginning felt like a mini boss, but they were, basically wanting this team to be a roadblock in war. And I will tell you, Mobile Gamer was on that, and he asked them point blank, he's like, is this even fun? Like, is this going to be fun for players to be like stuck on a flight deck trying to defeat somebody's G15 Heroes for Hire? And they didn't really have a good answer for that. But the bottom line is that's what they intend. They said Silver Surfer plus Doom can sometimes one-shot them, but it's hard. Other teams will take 2 or 3 attempts. And they said realistically it's probably going to take 3 meta teams to take this down. I don't know if they're right. I don't know. Okay, guys, I'm just telling you, this is what the devs say. So don't take this as gospel because they get a lot of things wrong. It's scopely, but it's interesting. That's their intention. They said that they intended for you not to be able to sack teams because Misty resets the ultimate. They also said that they may add a 5th member later. Of course they are, right, to sell us more stuff. But their assumption is you're going to run Jessica Jones now. In all their tests that they showed us, they had Jessica Jones as the 5th. I don't think that Jessica Jones is going to be the strongest 5th, but if you have her already built, you can just throw her on there because she has some defender synergy. But one thing they said is they heard our feedback about the T4s on Skill Military and Shadowland, and they're scaling that back going forward. So they said that this team will be strong at 6664, in other words, with just the T3 purple ability materials without T4s. They also said that in the future, basically the characters that are going to require a lot of T4s are going to be characters that you have to use in all game modes. So, for example, Silver Surfer, they said they had 3 T4s they expected you to need. I imagine that means Kestra will be similar. And then for a team like this, it's going to just be like, a couple per team, they think. Realistically, guys, you're going to want to put T4s on Colleen for the bleed damage. But still, not as heavy. I think that's a good thing for the game. Helps players that aren't at the very end game. And then the bottom line with Surfer is the entire team's going to have charges, and Luke Cage will taunt quickly, so you're not going to be able to rely on Silver Surfer. Like when people saw Colleen's kit, they're like, oh, you're going to have to bring in Surfer to defeat her. No, because they all have charges. They all do that revive thing, so you're not going to be able to just use Silver Surfer because you can only remove charges from one at a time. He's part of a short-term solution. But if this team requires Surfer plus an OP hybrid to defeat it, that's a great result, right? If the other team's got to the other opponent's got to break up multiple teams just to defeat one of your war defense teams, that's a tremendous advantage in war. Here's a quote. I asked the devs, isn't this team the counter gonna just be Kestrel or Black Bolt? Because Kestrel, if you haven't watched my video, please check it out. I'll link all my videos below. For patch day, Kestrel has a Black Bolt kind of ability where you can't revive anyone killed by that attack, and they're like, no way. They're like, Kestrel and Black Bolt are not going to be the counter for this because it's, quote, going to be hard for Black Bolt or Kestrel to kill them from 51% to 0 in one shot. And they essentially, their point is, we made their health so high that if they're at 51%, you're not going to have a Black Bolt or a Kestrel big enough to just take them down from 51% to 0, which is what you have to do to prevent the revive. Very interesting. It means that everyone predicting that Inhumans are going to go on offense and be the new meta were wrong. And then Colleen and Misty, as I said earlier, going to be strong outside of war. What I anticipate, as I said, I think in the short run, you're going to want to use Colleen in the skill nodes on the Doom Raid because her damage is ridiculous. And then you'll probably use Kestrel as well. And then Misty, I think, at least the tech boss with that ability block, plus her stats are really high, even though her speed's low. The other thing I want to mention to you guys is that the devs, we asked specifically about the G15 uniques and the uniques and gear in general, and they said, because this is a war defense team, they said they wanted to make the gear requirements low. So they deliberately made them lower than they did for a character like Silver Surfer. So that tells me maybe 54 or fewer uniques on these new characters. That's a good thing too. It makes it easier to gear. And so here's the bottom line. I think Colleen and Misty have such strong stats that they'll likely be strong in other game modes. I think Misty, she's a little slow for maybe, Arena or RTA, but she could have some use there, maybe with Colleen. I don't know. But, she's definitely going to have some use in raids on some nodes, both on the tech boss and maybe some Greek raids. Certainly a reasonable choice. Colleen is just so powerful in terms of damage. Her and Kestrel are now the big damage dealers in the game. You're going to end up needing to use them elsewhere. Colleen, like I said, is other than maybe Kestrel, because Kestrel's got the AoE damage and, all that defense down. Colleen is the best damager in the game. I mean, in the long run, over time with the bleeds, those attacks are going to be devastating. So, we always, whatever character ends up being the highest damage is useful in this game, right? So for a while it was Rocket, and then it was Black Bolt. For a little while here it's been like Long Shot because of all the turns. It's probably now going to be Kestrel and Colleen. Those characters are going to be really powerful. You absolutely can't skip this team if you're an endgame player. Like, if you're an endgame player, you beat DD4, and you care at all about war, like, unless you're on just a pure raid alliance, you're going to have to build this team. It's just the reality of it to compete in war. Your alliance will be losing if you ignore this team. If you are somebody who cares about war at all, you're going to have to build this team. I don't care where you're at, Gold 4, Platinum 1, you're going to have to build this team if you're into war. And the issue is just going to be, do you put orange gear on this while you're still working your way through DD4? I would recommend not, but it's going to hurt you in war. They're basically trying to force you to make that choice. That's Scopely for you. I do believe this team will transform war as soon as it's released. I do not believe that this team is going to be as hard as Scopely thinks. I don't know. It could be harder. But I do think it's going to take a specialized hybrid team to beat it. That alone is going to be a huge advantage in war. So maybe we'll come up with a one-shot team, but it's going to require you to break up other teams and use a bunch of OP characters, and I think that's an advantage. If every room has that, wow. going to transform war, going to be a new focus in war, radically changing the war meta. I wouldn't upgrade Jessica Jones, by the way. I do think you could use a better fifth character on this team. So that's what I would do. I would not, get in a rush on Jessica Jones or anything like that. Focus on Iron Fist, focus on Luke Cage, the new characters. I would put this team down as soon as you get any group of them built. I'd start even potentially using Luke Cage and Iron Fist and hybrids even, and seeing how they work in war. Test them out, confuse people with it. But as far as the fifth character, there's lots of spare characters running around that will fit on this team. My guess as to who the best fifth character, I think Ultron. I think Ultron doesn't really have a home. I don't really think that I mean, people have to run Black Bolt against it. That's fine, and Black Bolt plus a bunch of other stuff. But then that gives Black Bolt, if he's focused on Ultron, means that he won't focus on the Heroes for Hire. The other thing, by the way, the devs told me that when we asked about kill order, they said they think you're going to have to target the fifth character first, and then they said, then it was very hard for them to decide who was the best character to take down. And they said, my guess is it might end up being Iron Fist, if his health is low enough. But they mentioned that Misty Knight gives a lot of bonuses to the team, so it might be her. Anyways, guys, I hope you like this. If you like this video, check out all my other videos on Patch Day. I link them below. And also, I'm going to have all of them. Just go to my channel and subscribe and look at all those videos today. I put a lot of time into this just for you guys. Also, if you're watching this video, that means I'm on Twitch. I'm on my Discord. They're both linked below. I'm answering your questions, and I'll do all of that until the game goes back up. And then I will unlock the new character and play with that character. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video.